Hey Glix, quick question. Do you know who StarGirl is?
I have heard of her in passing. Perhaps you should do a podcast about her.
Awesome, let's talk about it.
Okay, what is happening here?
Where are we?
Glix, give us a situation report.
Currently, we are on the planet Geekery. Be warned, our impossibility drive may cause distortions as we traverse this land. Impending impossibility engaging in 3,
Oh, gosh.
2, 1.
Devoted Geeks are here.
Hello, Devoted Geeks, and welcome to CommTalk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions, a show from Devoted Geeks who are devoted to letting people know that you are loved. And this is episode 71. We're getting so many. Also, this is episode 5 of our quarantine podcast. We're super excited about this, guys, because this means that this is the 7th week in a row that you've had a podcast. I think that's pretty cool, considering that we had so many, shall we say, breaks in the podcast. We're going to try and be more intentional with it. We're going to do some stuff with Podbean to kind of force us to become more intentional. That being said, today we are going to be talking about the DC Universe StarGirl. Now, DC Universe has it coming out on Mondays. It is also available to you on Tuesdays if you watch the CW. It's on both, which I think is really cool because that means that you can get both. Like, people who don't pay for DC can still see StarGirl. They just don't see it as quickly. You have to wait a day. We get it on Mondays, you get it on Tuesdays. Kind of wish that if they were going to do that, it was almost a whole week ahead, but it's whatever. We've watched to date 2 episodes, so by the time this comes out, it will have been out on CW and DC for 2 days. I'm recording this on Tuesday. We watched the 2nd episode last night. This comes out on Wednesday. So we are going to be talking about that, just the 2 episodes, and the little bit of knowledge that I have about StarGirl. Shouldn't take terribly long because I don't have a lot of knowledge. I did some research, and apparently StarGirl originally started as I don't know what you would say. She was a kid. She was one of the kid heroes. About 15. The predecessor of Starman. Starman had, let's see, I'm trying to remember the actual story, not the story in the series. Something had happened to Starman. No, something hadn't happened to Starman. She was Starman's sidekick. That's what it was. Courtney was Starman's sidekick, and they fought, and he eventually retired and passed down the mantle of StarGirl to her. That is the original comics. I know StarGirl because I read DC Bombshells, which takes all of the major female heroes, so Wonder Woman, Mara, Batwoman, StarGirl, somebody else, it was some sort of a witch was in her name, I don't remember. She hung out with StarGirl and puts them in like World War II era, kind of the Rosie the Riveter type thing. So I enjoy reading those books because they're a nice alternate history. And I really enjoy that time frame. So that is the extent of my knowledge with StarGirl as a whole. So when going into the series, I was like, cool, this should be interesting. I don't know a lot about her, but this series looks like it's going to be fun. And sure enough, it is a fun series. Now, we are about to get into spoilers for the series if you've not seen the first 2 episodes. You might want to pause the podcast. If you don't care about spoilers, I'll try to be mindful of that not everybody may have watched this, but it's going to get into some spoiler territory. That being said, it's only the first 2 episodes, so it's kind of basic stuff. We did a devotion on this last week. So last Friday as of the releasing of this podcast. And it was fairly easy devotion to pull from it because this show at the moment is really cute and really wholesome. Like, there's not a lot going on outside of this girl is wanting to be a hero. And her stepfather wants to protect her. She's a lonely kid. Her dad had disappeared when she was 5. And that's that's a thing that they deal with, which is interesting because that is a thing that a lot of kids deal with nowadays. First episode, you see Starman dying, giving the cosmic staff to Pat or Stripesy, depending on which name you want to call him. And he goes, "It's not meant for you, but for somebody." And then you cut to a scene of a little girl waiting for Dad to come for Christmas to pick her up, and Mom's frustrated because Dad's not coming. And it's this interesting dynamic. And at first you're like, what's going on here? Like, I did not pick up where they were trying to lead it immediately. So you jump forward. Mom of the little girl who is waiting for Dad has married Pat. He's a good guy. He's dorky as all get out. But it's kind of dorky on purpose, if that makes sense. Like, I think the character really is dorky, but they are making him dorky and cheesy because it's a good fit for his character. I don't know how to say that better. Pat's a good guy. He's just trying to be a good stepfather, trying to be a good father to his son. And so you see them moving from California to middle of nowhere, Blue Falls, Nebraska. And this is a super small town. The entire town kind of thrives on the tire company, which is where Mom has gotten a job. Pat is opening a car shop, and you see that the younger brother, the stepbrother, is doing really good. He's integrating really well, and Courtney's kind of having some problems. There's not a ton of people who are super friendly to her. The ones that are, when she tells them she's not into cheerleading, they're like, "Oh, you don't want to be friends. Okay." Which I think was kind of ridiculous. And I feel like that's going to come back later in later story arcs. So then you have her dealing with being at a new school. You have her dealing with the fact that she's left her friends. She feels lonely. She's still dealing with the fact that 10 years ago, when she was 5 years old, her dad never came to get her and has not shown up since. So she goes downstairs one night after first day of school, bad day, no friends, people rejecting her, people making fun of her, people picking on her, she got in trouble for stopping a bully from picking on somebody, which I feel like is a little ridiculous because she was stopping the bully. So why is she and the bully not being pulled in? So it goes from there, and she goes down to the basement, which these people have the hugest basement. We don't have basements in Louisiana because most of the state is below sea level. So it's just a bad idea. I don't live in that area, but basements are not really a thing here. So the fact that the basement is so big is so weird to me. She's going downstairs and she's looking through stuff, and she finds a box that is Pat's. And so she's like, I'm going to look through it. Because she's kind of having an issue with Pat, as you would normally see with someone who's got a stepfather and still has dad issues. She opens it up and finds all of this stuff that's JSA? Justice Society of America. Yeah, JSA. And she's like, what is going on here? And she finds the cosmic staff, and it responds to her. Now, we see the cosmic staff not respond to Stripesy. We see it, like the light die out of it, but it responds to her. And so she becomes convinced that she is Starman's daughter, that this is her birthright as Starman's daughter to do the things that she needs to do, to be the hero, to take care of things. And you see through the first 2 episodes kind of her making some mistakes, her practicing out in the open where people can see her, where cameras can get her. You see her confront one of the main villains because she attacked his son. You see her accidentally blow up a car. She says it was the staff. Either way, staff was in her hands. Even if the staff did it of its own volition, she was still holding the staff, so she blew up the car. So you see her getting into all these things, and at the end of the first episode, Pat reveals that he has this mech suit that he's built that they are now calling Stripes. He's going to be taking care of her. He's kind of against being the sidekick. He wants her to be safe. He goes off to fight the villain by himself and tells her, if I don't come back tomorrow morning, tell your mom I love her and get everybody out of here. Because they did not realize that this small town was exactly where half the villains for the Injustice Society lived. Like, these people are villains, and now they're congressmen and mayors and upstanding citizens in society. Like, one of them is a doctor. And so they take on the villain. They get him taken out. He is in a coma. He was a mental person. Like, he did things with his mind. And they end up putting him in a coma. Fun story. I think they're setting up his son to take over, because at the end of it, it really looked like he was starting to manifest some of the abilities, which they had already established he was not. Dad was kind of disappointed that he was not manifesting the mental abilities, but I think that he needed the traumatic event. And so, but overall, this is just a good story. Really enjoying watching the storyline, really enjoying the interaction between Courtney and Pat. They have a relationship that is interesting. Like, she's legitimately trying to like him because her mom loves him. She's legitimately trying to be nice to him, even though she will not accept him as a father figure at the moment. Pat is trying to get along with her. He is desperate to have a good relationship with his wife's daughter. And it's definitely an interesting perspective to watch. Their interactions, now that they are both trying to be nice to each other, are really interesting. They're really witty, but kind of in a dorky way, because Pat's really, like I said, Pat's really dorky. Pat is the ultimate dad joke. So that is that. We definitely recommend the series, at least as of now. There's not been much language. What it has been has come from the younger brother, and he is chastised every time. There is, if you're sensitive to outfits, her outfit shows her stomach. I don't think that's as big of a deal. I mean, I wouldn't go out showing my stomach, but it's not, it covers enough of her that it doesn't look inappropriate. They are not over-sexualizing this 15-year-old. She just, has on the shorts and the long sleeve crop top. Overall, at this very moment, I honestly think that this would be a good show to watch with families. I'm wondering if that's what DC is trying to do. They have Titans, which is the dark, edgy, gritty, fighting, ridiculously intense stuff. They have Swamp Thing, which I don't think they're bringing back, but they have it, which is of the more creepy sci-fi area. They have Doom Patrol, which is ridiculous. It's just, like, that is not a family show at all. So I'm wondering if with StarGirl, they are trying to branch into another genre of family-friendly content, because we also know that Harley Quinn is not family-friendly at all. Okay, so don't forget we have a devotion Friday. This podcast will be coming out Wednesday. So Friday we have a devotion. This next month, June, it's almost June, guys, we are going to be doing a summer sing-along, and I am so excited about this because it's going to be musicals all month. We have a guest lined up for the end of the month. Dallas is not terribly excited, so we're trying to find a musical that he will enjoy, because he really doesn't care for musicals. I'm the musical person. He likes music. He doesn't care for musicals. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm super excited about this, guys. I've been wanting to do a musicals month for years and finally figured out a good time to do it. So excited. Don't forget to check that out. Don't forget to check out Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the socials. And we thank you so much for listening to CommTalk today. If you have loved this episode, head on over to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It is very much appreciated. So until next time, stay devoted, peace and love.